All right. So how was your weekend? Did you enjoy WrestleMania just like everybody else did?
You know what? This is the first time, and I mean, I tweeted it out, that I was just like, I am not going to watch 1 second of WrestleMania. I didn't even do the foolhardy thing that I usually do. Is like, oh, if I get $1 in PayPal, I'll do it. Because usually you PayPal me that dollar, then I have to watch WrestleMania.
Right.
So I was like, oh, okay. I'm not going to, and it really wasn't in my purview. And the Saturday night WrestleMania in my news feed was amazing because nobody was watching it. Everybody seemed to be gone out somewhere. Even when I talked to like DJ, he said he was gone out Saturday night. So I'm like, there was nothing. There was like maybe an occasional somebody talking about WrestleMania, I think, and then Sunday I had to mute it. So
yeah,
because everybody was waiting for L.A. Knigget and whatever. I don't know, and I was just like, I'm done, I'm out. So,
okay.
But I know you enjoyed one night at least.
I enjoyed both nights of WrestleMania. I say both nights. I ended up watching what I needed to watch from night one, Sunday morning, and then the rest. Sunday night as it was happening. But I had. So you know what? Yeah. So what you set me up, you teed me up. So let's go. So Saturday I was actually in Washington D.C. with my wife to go see a comedian that she likes.
Right.
Lady by the name of Sarah Milliken, and it was a good time. The 4-hour drive to D.C. not so much.
Now, did you do a 4-hour drive back immediately, or did you stay?
No, we did the full drive back.
Okay, I was just curious. I was like, oh, maybe they stayed and, saw the sights, but had to get home in time,
So you'd be surprised how early DC, like this was in like downtown DC, right?
Right.
The theater that it was at. You would be surprised. So we get there. We got there maybe about... So show starts at 8, so we got there maybe about 6:30, let's say, right? Luckily, we didn't hit any traffic. Find a place to park, and it's the city, like when we were, obviously we were just trying to look for the venue and look for a place to park. But on our way home, it was like, all right, we make a left, and then we make a right, and like we're like driving like toward the Capitol. Like that's how downtown DC this was, right?
Right.
So the show lets out at like a little after 10, and everything was closed.
I know that feeling. I think I've told you this before. When I went to Charlotte for a con, like in the 90s,
yeah, like
we joked that we were there for the weekend, and like after the like 5 o'clock, people went home on Friday. I don't remember if we were there Friday, but either way, Saturday. I remember we had a picture, but somebody lost the camera of us laying down in like the main street of Charlotte on a Saturday morning because there was no traffic. And then later that night, like trying to find someplace to eat that wasn't in our restaurant. We had to walk like 20 blocks because nothing is open after 6 o'clock. It was crazy. So I totally know what you were going through. You know what I mean?
Like when we got there and we're like, oh, we're going to go find a place to eat, whatever. It was bustling, man. Like there was tons of places were open, people all over the place, right?
Right.
10:30, ghost town.
Now I wonder if it was always like that, or if it's like post-COVID. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't
changed everything. Because there's a lot of stuff that was open late, where we live, and it's not open anymore. It just closes 9 o'clock. We're done. A lot of places close at 8 o'clock. They're done.
Yeah.
But now, did you surprise April with this?
Well, yes and no. It was one of those things where I know that she likes this lady. So I went up and I signed up. I'm like, oh, let me see when she's coming around, right?
Right.
And she's a UK-based comedian.
Yep, I know who she is. I don't know her name, but I've seen her
okay.
stand up. I mean? Like I know she's got like a high-pitched voice and stuff like that.
Yeah, and she's got like a very thick Cockney accent,
Yeah. She's no Fern Brady with her Scottish accent, but she's good. But go ahead.
So I'm like, okay, well, you know what? You never know. I'll sign up for her mailing list, and who knows? Maybe she'll come to the States sometimes, right? So over the summer, she announces that she's doing a U.S. tour, and like, here are the dates, and like, you know, you've signed up, so you're gonna get like the pre-sale code, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there was one that was actually in New York, maybe like the week before Thanksgiving was the first one.
Right.
Like that's where the tour was starting in New York, and then she was like going all around the United States, Canada, whatever. And then, like, next week is the end of the tour. And we'll get to all that, too. So I go, okay. And all the dates weren't announced, but I'm like, New York. I'm like, New York. Or no, it was like all the dates were announced, but it was like things are going on sale at certain times. Like the November ones are going on sale now. The December ones are going on sale next month. January. And, like, you follow?
Yeah, which is weird because usually when they do tickets for anything, if they have the dates, like whatever dates they give out, they all go on sale at the same time. And then they're like, oh, we may have a second leg. You know what I mean? So that's like weird to me.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, it's through, you know, Ticketmaster, Live Nation, whatever. Mm-hmm. But because these are like theaters and not like Wachovia, the place that we went to was kind of like, it reminded me of a bigger FM Kirby Center, like inside and everything. Like literally the way it was set up was like if you just picked up the Kirby Center, stretched it out a little bit, and put it in DC, that's what this place was.
Right. Did you get to take your picture with where Lincoln was shot, or
no? But and we'll come back to that too. So, I go, okay, so I missed New York. Like, New York sold out in, like, 6 minutes. It was crazy, right?
Right. Where was it at New York? Do you remember? Or?
I don't fucking remember.
All right, some random place, not like a known place. It wasn't like the Hammer.
It was a theater in New York somewhere, you know?
No, go ahead. Sorry.
So then they add a second show. That sells out immediately. I'm like, fuck, right? So then they put up the DC date and the on-sale thing. I'm like, I'm not missing this, right? Like, I took a half hour off of work so that I'm like, I'm not going to miss it. Right. So I got it and I got the DC thing, but I think I got those tickets like in November.
Okay.
Just like the way that kind of everything rolled out, the way that her tour worked. So like, it's like, all right, we got these tickets for 5 months from now. And then it was one of those things where I saw it was like the same weekend as not only C2E2, but WrestleMania as well.
Oh, and I know which one hurt you more, Joe.
It was an equal hurt, you know?
Yeah, right. And we'll come back around to that, too, but go ahead.
But the show was great. Funny comedian. I didn't know what to expect. And it was exactly what I expect. And this is doing her a disservice to say that she's the woke Lisa Lampanelli, if that makes any sense.
Okay. The British woke Lisa Lampanelli?
Yes. Like, she doesn't have, like, the Queen of Mean persona, but there's lots of,
shade.
Lots of vulgarity.
Okay.
And obviously it's a very geared toward women. The crowd broke down as this. Married women. Mm-hmm. Women in a group together. Same-sex couples,
mm-hmm.
and then confused husbands.
I know which group you fell into.
Yes.
So did you like the stuff? The stand-up?
Yes.
Okay.
And it was one of those things, like, I've seen enough, stand-up comedy. It's been a long time since I've went, and, not that she's, like, any different, but just, like, the little different things that I notice with their bit. Like, she did a weird thing where, like, she came out first and introduced her opener.
Right.
And then the opener comes out and does his like 10 minutes and he was fine, and then she comes out and she sets up the whole thing. She's like, I'm going to introduce my opener. Then I'm going to come out. We're going to do an intermission and then I'm going to come back out and do more. That's how the show is going to go. Right. Whatever. But it's just weird that your headliner comes out and introduces the opener and then comes back out again. Right.
She's taken after Rodney back in the day on HBO.
Oh, okay. Well, Rodney was the host of the Young Comedians special.
Right. Well,
he would get up there, do a joke, and then like, oh, here's Rosie O'Donnell, Right.
Or here's somebody that needs no introduction and then walk off the stage.
Yeah. So as she closes off the first bit, she's like, oh, COVID, huh? You know, like this kind of delayed things, whatever. And then she like goes out to the crowd and is like, hey, what's some crazy things that you guys did during COVID? And this is like the improv portion of the thing where like she'll hear what she wants someone to say. It's like, oh, we got a dog or a cat or whatever it was.
Right.
And she's got a story about that. And then she hears somebody else say like, oh, we had a baby. I got a story about that. And like she interacts with the person. I'm like, oh, okay, this is how she works her bits in, right? Mm-hmm. But like she has her standard bits. She's not going to do them all. Right, but it's a way to kind of lead into them, right?
Right. And if she gets a wacky one, then have at it, you know?
Yeah. So then she comes out for the second part, and she comes up with like a little notebook, and it's very clearly stuff she's working on, which is fine. I got no problem with that. But it's very clearly stuff that she's working on because she could, like, she's writing down, like, you can see, like, as things are getting different reactions, she's writing different things down as she's going through it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I had asked April, you know, because April watches all of her stuff, and I'm like, how much of what we saw tonight have you already seen of watching, like, her other specials or YouTube clips and everything else like that? And she goes, very little. She said that the part where she was asking the audience questions and stuff, that was where most of it showed up.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, that makes sense. So then she mentions at the end of the thing, she's like, oh, you know, I don't have a ton of merch. Everyone leaves. You're going to get like a little button, you know,
right,
that says like you were here. And she's like, don't be a scumbag and take a bunch. Everybody gets one, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, you can go to my website. She goes, I have 2 little pieces of jewelry that are made by like an independent whatever, and it's a way to help out small business, and you're helping me out as well, whatever. But the way that she does like what we saw at this theater, this is essentially her current special. So when she did her Australian tour, she goes and tours around Australia. When that tour is over, you can go to her website and buy the special.
Right.
When she did her UK tour, as soon as the UK tour was over, you can go. The UK people now can go to the website and buy the special.
Mm-hmm.
Now I could use a VPN and I could grab that special, and I'll probably see every joke that she told in that because the special goes on sale in the US next week.
Okay.
So it's a way that she has the special already ready to go, and she can sell it, but all the jokes aren't burned because the countries that she's touring in, she's not selling the special or releasing those jokes until after she's done them at the live audiences.
Right.
And I like that. Like, I like that model for a comedian, you know, because you'll get the comedian who'll go and they'll have the CD, they'll release the CD, they'll go up and do half the CD, and then they'll be at their table making change for a 20 to sell you the CD of the jokes that you just heard.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So I like that entrepreneurship of her there. And I'm not that versed. And I asked April, and she said she doesn't know. She mentions a lot during her stand-up special the candy bar Twix.
Right.
She likes the Twix candy.
But the left or the right? Did you?
Well, again, there was no joke about that. That's a little tacky. So I'm shocked that she doesn't have a deal with them.
Right.
But I don't know how big of a comedian she is to be able to have a deal with a candy bar thing, especially with how filthy she is.
Right. And you do know about because I know you fast forward through a lot of commercials on your shows. But you do know about the left and the right Twix commercials. Okay. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe that's it. Like maybe she's not big enough, but like you were saying with her working out her material, the last comedian I saw, and it's been a while, was Emo Phillips before Weird Al Yankovic. And he was doing a bit where he's like, oh, and I think it was around Easter last year too, when we saw him. It didn't matter, whatever it was. He's like, oh, like, they sent me, like the Wilkes-Barre Times sent me an interview, and you know, like they couldn't do it in person, so they sent me a printout, and you know, I'm going to answer it here, which is the joke is that he never got around to it. And then every once in a while he'd be doing his jokes, and then he'd reach in his pocket and he'd pull out like folded up papers, and he'd be like, So the next question was, and then he would do a bit somehow leading out of that question. I was like, oh, okay. This is him trying new stuff, but explaining why he has the piece of paper in his hand. You know what I mean? Which I thought was at least like interesting, because a lot of times you just see people, like you said, they have the notebook and they'll put it on the stool where their water is, and they'll, do 3-4 their bangers, and then walk over and pick up the notebook and like you said, and write notes. And I'm like, ooh. And I've had friends who have told me they've seen people. I think the bassist said that he saw Mitch Hedberg working out a lot of stuff, and it was like a terrible show.
Oh, really?
It was all stuff that wasn't perfected. So he did it might have been somebody else. I forget. I'll get a Twitter, but it was that, and he might have been really high at the time.
Oh, well, that'll do it too.
So it was if you do too much and don't give enough of your, good jokes, it's like, well, why did I even come? If you're just going to, you have 90 jokes and you think 70 don't work, so you want to mix it up. I'm like, that's not a good look either, so.
And I know I've told this story in the pod before, but it bears repeating. April and I and Studebaker and his wife, we went to go see Dave Attell. This had to be like 06, maybe 07.
I hear he's touring again, but go ahead.
Well, did we talk about that on the show last week?
Not on the mic, but
okay. Well, we're going to talk about it on the mic then. So we go see Attell, and it was at a comedy club, like a big comedy club in like New Jersey, and I don't mean like a big one, but like a name one, right?
Oh, I get you. Yeah, like Laughs or something like that.
Chuckle Hut or the Funny Bone or whatever. So we go there, and Dave is doing 2 shows, an 8 and a 10. But apparently they oversold one of the shows, so they're like, okay, we're gonna add. We talked to Dave, and he's gonna add a 3rd show at midnight. Anybody wants to stay for the midnight show, you could trade in your 8s or your 10s, because 8 was already going. You trade in your 10s, but if you want to hang out and be at the 10, just know the 10 is oversold, right? So it's going to be a tight fit.
Right.
So we're like, what do we got to do, right? We'll do the midnight. We'll trade our things in. Go midnight. We'll go grab something to eat, and then we come back, right?
Now, what city was this in?
Jersey, somewhere in New Jersey.
Okay, because I know he lives, I don't know what, in Cleveland now or something.
Well, I don't know where Dave lives.
I mean.
Oh yeah, this when Studebaker was still living in Jersey.
That's what I'm asking. I didn't know if he did. But go ahead.
Pronouns, pal. He.
Gotcha.
So we go to the midnight show, okay? And Attell comes out, and he is ossified drunk, okay?
Right.
But does 90 brand new minutes and kills. And it's stuff that we saw him do that came out like 2 CDs later.
Right. Probably didn't remember doing it either.
Was that?
Probably didn't remember doing it that night either.
Well, that's the thing. Like, those guys of that era were professionals that, like, even if they were blind drunk, they could still hit their bits, And obviously what ends up being on the CD is a little bit more polished than what we saw that night in New Jersey, but,
Right.
So we were talking last week off air, and I got to go pull it up here. So, Bert Kreischer.
The Machine.
So he is doing a tour of baseball stadiums. Or not baseball stadiums. Yeah, it's a lot of baseball stadiums as I'm looking here.
Right, but minor league probably.
Minor league, right? Minor league ballparks. I'm not sure if he's doing the ones that Double J is involved with. I got to do the cross reference there, God. Right?
You got your reference in. We
started the show talking about you watching WrestleMania.
No, I mean Jeff Jarrett.
Okay. By the time that a lot of people are going to be hearing this, he's going to be the AEW champion, beating that dastardly Maxwell Jacob Friedman in his hometown on MJF Day. That's how good of a heel you are when you beat the hometown boy in his hometown for his title on the day that they named after him. Anyway.
Right. Longbox Heroes After Dark became a Jeff Jarrett podcast so gradually I hardly noticed.
So the tour, the Bert Kreischer tour, is coming to our field. And I remember when the ticket prices were not $100. Now they are $100.
Probably, sold out.
Let me see. But the thing is, it's a huge show, right?
Right. It's got all the stars are here.
But it's $100. Ugh.
Right. And if you're just going for, certain comedians.
Right. So, and then then the other thing was, my idea was like, I'm not a fan of Bert. I'm not familiar with a lot of the folks that are on this tour.
Mm-hmm.
But Dave Attell's on the tour. And I'm like, I would go and pay $50 to go see Attell perform at a baseball field and then go home.
And Attell's probably a smart guy. He'd go on early so he could sell his merch.
Mm-hmm.
So he'd be able to get out of there quick, Damn
it, I just had it in front of me too. But it was a bunch of people I don't know, right?
Right. And if you even listed them off, I wouldn't know unless I saw a lot of their pictures,
Yeah. But I don't know who's on, like, I don't know if everyone is on the same tour,
Right. Like if it's like the monster truck rallies and stuff.
Yeah.
A towns and B towns with the comedians.
But now all the tickets are like $100 and up, and I'm not doing that.
No, I don't blame you.
Yeah. It was a fun pipe dream at $50,
Right. Then that would have been at least worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe see them, and maybe you would have found a few new comedians, because I know how you like new things, Joe,
I'll give a new comedian a try. If you're being a part of Bert's tour, you better be leading with your strongest stuff,
Right. Yeah.
But I heard a horror story because, like, Bert did this tour last year as well.
Mm-hmm.
He did, like, the bigger baseball fields last year, and then this year he's doing, like, the next step down baseball fields.
Right.
And apparently this person lamented because... So Attell gets up and kills, right?
Mm-hmm.
And Attell is the second to last guy to go on. Of course, it's Bert Kreischer's show, so Bert's going to close.
Right.
Attell gets up there, kills. Bert gets up there. Everyone, a big round of applause for Dave Attell. Dave Attell's the greatest. I love Dave Attell.
Mm-hmm.
That joke that Dave told about the XYZ, that was a great joke. And then he just tells that same joke that Dave just told.
Right.
Oh, and that other one that he tells about this, and then just Bert. Now, if he was doing a bit, right?
Yeah.
Fantastic. So Bert gets up and closes by essentially doing the Chris Farley show version of "Here's how great Dave Attell is." I'm just gonna retell all the jokes you just saw him do 10 minutes ago.
Right.
Good night, and then closes with the machine. Good night, everybody.
Right. You never know. That might have been what it was.
I don't know if Bert's that sort of bit guy,
You never know.
Maybe he is. I don't know. I'd bet no.
Right.
So how was your weekend avoiding wrestling? Did you do anything before we wrap this up?
No, other than like I said, I'll bring it back around to C2E2. I was watching a lot of stuff come out of that, like more like what artists were doing what, blah blah, and those Facebook groups that I'm in, and then I saw the dates, so I immediately started researching hotels near McCormick Place for next year.
Right,
and the fact that because every time they do a convention, there's always, I think I've talked about it on here before, there's like, when you get closer, there is the, if you got tickets, go through this website, and like the convention books a block of hotels, we can get you some cheaper. Yeah. So I was like, oh, okay. But I also go, in case that doesn't work out, I look to reserve the hotel when you can find a hotel that doesn't have the cancellation fee. So what the hell, you do it. So I looked, I'm like, okay, this is a hotel that is literally, when you do the math, is 125 feet from the convention center. Oh, so I bookmarked it.
Oh, I thought you said you booked it already, my heart. Oh.
And then I looked up when they started doing bookings for that weekend.
Yeah.
And right now, as we record this, let's just say it goes up to the last time you can book 3 weeks before the convention. So in about 3 weeks, I'm going to go and look and see if they have a room with a no cancellation fee.
Yeah.
And I'm going to book that room. And then that's going to be the thing that like I always joke, I'm like R5D4 from Star Wars. I got a bad motivator. This will motivate me into doing what I have to go next year. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's like starting the process. So that's what I kind of did, and like looked at like what restaurants were around there, and then I looked into flights versus the 11-hour drive. And like you can't I can't find out what flights cost, because you can do a direct flight out of Scranton to both of the Chicago airports, and I forget which one the hotel is closer to. But so I'm like, okay, let's see what those cost compared to like what, 11-hour drive. Like if it was like $400 round trip, I'd be like, I ain't taking an 11-hour trip. You know what I mean? But if it's like, oh, it's $1,500, maybe I'll drive. I don't know. We'll see.
I know about a month ago when we were looking because we're going to, and this is 6 months from now. Mm-hmm. You and Adam's problem.
Okay.
But we're going to Universal in Florida for a week in the middle of October, right?
Oh, cool. Look for Dr. Doom stuff for me, but go ahead.
I will. I get you the cup when we were there 17 years ago?
You may have. I don't remember.
Yeah, because I got myself the cup too.
You'll have to take a picture and send that to me, and I'll let you know if you did or not.
All right. But a month ago, we're like, all right, we're going to do it. We're going to start planning. We're going to start doing everything. And when you go and look up travel packages through Universal in late February, early March, they only had travel packages ready to go up to the end of the summer.
Right.
They weren't looking at September and October yet in February, you know? Mm-hmm. So we're like, all right, after this weekend with Easter and everything, we're going to go and make our plans, the hotel and everything else like that. Yeah.
That's something I want to do because really quick, my cousin, I don't know if we talked about my cousin. He was the one who like did movies around here for fun and stuff like that.
Yeah. He's the reason you have an IMDb page.
Yes. He got transferred for Lockheed Martin down to Orlando or just outside of Orlando.
Okay.
So he has to drive past most of the parks on his way to work. Like, and they're like, he's like, they're 10 minutes, 15 minutes away from my house. And then like, I'm another like 10 minutes past that for work. So for the families and stuff like that, he bought year-round passes.
Right, because like you get them cheaper if you're a resident or something.
Right, and you can get them. He bought two of like for certain parks and stuff like that, but you can only use them for off like off days and stuff like that. But it's such a good deal because any relative that comes down and stays with him, he's like, pick what park you want to go to. I got different. You want SeaWorld, you want like Jim's House's slides, what do you want? Right. And then he was like when my uncle went down, I forget, there's like a Stetson hat museum down there. He had like all the pamphlets, he bought them, brought them up, like, and he's like showing his parents, like, what do you want to do? I'm like, if I was down there, I'm going to the hat museum. But I was like, I'm not saying he has every single one, but like the bigger ones. And he's always trying to get me down to go because we're a year apart in age, and like we were the Star Wars kids in the 70s. So he's like, come on down, like we'll do the Star Wars park, and we'll go to the one with the superheroes. And I'm like, oh, I really want to do this, but I can't get away. The Cinnabon's just too crackling,
Too crackling.
Yeah.
And we'll close with this. The deal with the Marvel stuff at Universal, right?
Right, there's like a Mississippi line of stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and like it's frozen in time of like 1998.
Right.
So they can't change that part of the park, and they can't expand on that part of the park.
Right, and anything that like they don't want to lose the rights to it either.
Right, and I can't remember how long they have the rights for it. Rights on those characters for, but it's a while still.
I want to say in perpetuity.
Oh, you think it's in perpetuity?
You know who's a big, like, and I don't want to say know-it-all, but an expert on all this stuff is the guy you want to rob his house for art. Like, Josh knows, like all the Walt Disney, he's a big, like, the family's a big Walt Disney family.
Sure.
And, like, all that stuff. He's like, when it comes to, because he knows it mostly from the Walt Disney side, because on the West Coast, they can do a lot more. You know what I mean? Like, they have the Guardians of the Galaxy and some of the other characters. Where on the East Coast, it's like, nope, you can't do any of it. It's all Universal parks. So
okay, so that's a thing that I learned because I watched a video on it in the last week, right? That's why, and that's why the person who did the video, and the video is relatively new. It's maybe like 6 months old, right? Mm-hmm. And he mentions all this, all the stuff about it, and the parks and whatever, and the deal, and how you mentioned with like east of the Mississippi or whatever it was. So with the stuff at Disney California, they can't do Avengers stuff. They can't do X-Men stuff, but they could do anything else, right? That's why they have Guardians, and that's why they have this, and that's why they have that. And like they have Avengers Academy, but they don't have any like of the Avengers that are represented at the Universal Park.
Right.
Like, I think they have Iron Man, but they don't have Captain America. Or they have this one, but they don't have Thor, right? Mm-hmm. And all of the attractions at, and again, I don't know Disney World, Disneyland, again, I don't go that deep. California Disneyland. While they have all of these Marvel things, there's no Marvel branding on any of them. Mm-hmm. None of them say Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy or Marvel's Avengers Academy or whatever it is. It just says, and nowhere does it say like Marvel Land, right?
Right.
They aren't allowed to put the name or wording or logo of Marvel on any of those attractions.
Wow. Yeah. Makes you wonder if Disney will ever get all that stuff back. Like, what, you know what I mean?
They have been scooping up land in Florida waiting for the day.
Yep. Well, they were always scooping up land in Florida, but
right. I think they have the stuff already made, and they're waiting for the day that the whatever Universal thing expires, and like the next day they're just pulling a tarp and they're like, we're ready to go.
That's right. It'll just come up out of the ground.
Yeah.
On pylons.
It'll come out of the swamp like the Legion of Doom's headquarters.
Oh, my God. You know what? Why don't we have a DC park? You know what I mean?
Well, I learned it from this video. The original bid was for DC at Universal.
Right.
But Six Flags outbid them.
Yep, and I had some stuff like from Great Adventure. Like I had a keychain, like a Green Lantern keychain that I broke that I always wanted. I ended up buying like some Catwoman stuff for the artist at the comic shop, that was from there, like, aftermarket stuff. They had a lot of cool merchandise, but I never went to any of I went once when I was a kid in the 90s, but that's it.
Right, but it was, man. I think it was supposed to be like, and again, this is heartbreaking to even say, it was supposed to be like Batman the Animated Series themed at Universal.
I would have been all over that all the time.
I know. And it was like they had the things drawn up and whatever it is, and then Six Flags Great Adventure, whatever, outbid them. And then like literally like they make roller coasters, right? Mm-hmm. They never transformed any part of their park into like Gotham City, which would have been amazing,
Right, or like Metropolis and Central City and Coast City. Then they would have to blow that up. You know what I mean? But maybe we should have our own like Longbox Heroes amusement park with DC Comics and hookers and booze. You know what? Forget the DC Comics and the booze.
So there's only one way that we're going to get that park off the ground, and that's if you go sign up for the Patreon.
That is true.
Patreon.com/LongboxHeroes. Use our eBay affiliate link. I'm not going to read the disclaimer here, but you know the disclaimer. It's on the website. Mm-hmm. The TeePublic sale is going on now, so go buy some T-shirts or something, all right?
Right.
And then we're going to use all that money to buy Todd's dream amusement park.
Right. Todd Town.
Yes. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you very much for listening. This was Longbox Heroes After Dark, like, I don't know, 4:38 or something.
Sure, why not?
Yeah, all right. And hey,
You're listening
see everybody
to the
next week, huh?
soon-to-be-named network, the Lamborghini of podcast networks.